soon, the time is here. Shane and I'll be loud and clear. Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and Abhi setting you free. Agents out, we're here to stay. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get involved.
Every week in AI, something insane happens.
And there's so much drama. Every Monday, we break it down live.
We do the news, we bring on guests, building in the space.
And we go deep into the stuff that actually matters.
Agents Hour, every Monday, noon Pacific.
Follow. Don't miss it. Peace.
This is Agents Hour with Shane Thomas and Abhi Aiyer.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Agents Hour. It's Monday. It's right around noon Pacific time. I'm Shane. I'm one of the founders of Mastra. I'm one of the hosts of Agents Hour, which you're watching right now. I'm here with Abhi, as always. What's up, dude?
What's up?
And where are you calling in from today?
Today, I am in Austin, Texas, visiting my little brother.
Feels like every week it's a different location.
I know, right?
But next week should be in person in SF. So
Yep.
That's going to be awesome. It's always fun to do the in-person shows. But if this is the first time you're tuning in, thank you. We do this almost every Monday. Sometimes it moves around a bit, but usually it's Monday, noon Pacific. We bring on some guests, which we have one today. We talk about the news. There's a lot of news to talk about, like always. We're going to talk Opus 4.8. We're going to talk about some other Anthropic news. We're going to talk about all the drama like we do every week. And yeah, we just cover everything that's going on in the space.
Hell yeah. There's a lot of good stuff that happened in the last week.
Yeah. I think the first thing, we'll cover this pretty quickly, but at Mastra last week, we launched something and it seemed like it hit a bit of a nerve, and others are building similar things. So I thought it'd be useful to spend just a few minutes talking about what we built, what others are building, and hopefully get some folks that might be interested to come to a workshop we're doing this week.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll tee it up for you. What did we launch? What did we build last week? Or at least launch?
Yeah, we shipped a new feature in Mastra, which we call the Agent Builder. It's targeted for non-technical folks to be able to play with the engineers and contribute agents and build their own agents as well. And it struck a nerve because, the Twitter stats helped us here, but we've been hearing this for the last couple of months, which is why we built it. The users kind of, Shane's been on like so many customer calls where he walked away and told me this agent builder thing is becoming more of a reality. So yeah, I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we've been hearing from engineering teams quite frequently is that oftentimes engineers are the ones that are responsible for doing everything AI and everything agentic. But what we've realized is that sometimes they're asked by, maybe less technical folks, maybe someone from marketing or the project management or finance, where they need to access or want to do some things that are built around agents. And so we thought, why not let everyone build their own agents? But of course, we're engineers. We want the engineers to have control. So you as the engineers, you get control, decide what tools the agents can use, how they're scoped, all of that. But then you give some of the functionality, some of the features over to less technical folks, so you don't have to be responsible for building and maintaining everything.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple companies that I've met with and talked to that wishes they had an agent builder prior to giving the GTM salespeople either full carte blanche to use Replit, which then caused a bunch of just, let's call them slop apps that have been created that have no security, or even other agent teams that maybe some technical people aren't on there, where you are allowed to just pick whatever tooling that you want. The cool thing about our agent builder is like the admins, let's say the engineers are the admins, they decide what is capable and possible within the platform. And then as a consumer, you're like playing within the boundaries of the sandbox is a loaded term, but from the old school days, you're playing right in the constraints of that sandbox.
Yeah, and we're doing a lost my voice there a second. We'll try again. We're doing a workshop. It's not good if you're in an audio. If you're listening, I'm still here. We're doing a workshop on Thursday about our agent builder, so you should check that out. Here it is. For those of you that may be interested, we'll drop it in the chat as well.
Yeah.
So there we go. And it's going to be with you, John, from our team, Alex, of course.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be dope. One thing about the agent builder that's super cool for us founders is before we started the current version of Mastra that everyone uses, we actually were an agent builder first type of framework. And I don't even think we were a framework at that point. We were just a UI that you could build agents with, set up RAG, vector databases, etc. But like at that point, maybe we were too early because no one wanted that. No user wanted that. Developers hated it. And now I think we've come full circle where we have the right foundations to build something like this. And it's just a nice layer on top of what we've already built. We didn't have to, we've introduced new things, but everything kind of pieced together pretty nicely.
Yeah, exactly. I think it definitely has, the capabilities have come around where they weren't there before. I mean, we've kind of built the early version, then we were talking about building another version for the last 18 months, really.
Yeah.
And now I think it's finally ready to the point where we have the right primitives in place, we have the right controls, so the engineering team still maintains, some semblance of control over the entire process. And there is a question in the chat: is it totally locked for enterprise only? Right now, yes. It is enterprise only. Over time we will, evaluate and see if that's where it stays.
Yeah.
And as you see, if you're watching this for the first time, this is a live show. So Mohammed, good day from Egypt. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you checking us out. And you can comment in the chat, either on X, on YouTube. Oftentimes we'll pull it up on the screen and talk about it. And we appreciate the live comments. It keeps the show fresh, And with that, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing today, because we have a guest in the in the lobby waiting. So we have Ivan from DeepMind. We'll bring Ivan on in just a few seconds here. And we're also going to do the news, talk about all the things that are happening. So I suppose with that, should we just bring Ivan on? Should we get into it?
Do it.
All right, let's get Ivan in here.
Like, share, and subscribe.
And follow us on X.
And tell your friends.
And their friends.
I mean, we're not begging.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Subscribe to Agents Hour every Monday, noon Pacific. Ivan. Welcome to the show, dude.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is live. I was like, oh shit,
we
I
are.
logged in and I saw like the really smooth like intro screen.
This is a live show. There are people in the chat, so I'm sure they'll be asking you questions as we go along. Thanks for being here.
No, I mean like thanks for having me. I think I've been a big fan of Mastra and what you guys are doing. I think it's become incredibly like exciting, especially in the space of building agents. And I think like TypeScript has just been a language that's just perfect for it. And so yeah, really excited to be here.
Awesome. Now, I know you came with a schedule of things that you wanted to share today. And before we get into that, because that thing is dope, by the way, the list that we're going to get through, can you give the audience a little background about who you are? How'd you get to DeepMind, where you're from, which is interesting?
Yeah, for sure. So I started out with open source actually, and so that was kind of how I started playing around with language models with a Python, actually a Python package called Instructor, where I think back then the problem wasn't that it was difficult to build agents, it was that it was difficult to work with language models reliably. And so that was my first foray into like language models, where I wanted to make it easy for people to basically be able to build applications on language models. And so I was a core contributor to a package called Instructor. Fast forward like a year after that, I joined a startup called Manus, where we were building knowledge agents that were basically automating a lot of this knowledge work. Let's say you're a venture capital, like VC investor, you're a PE fund, you're a consultant. A lot of your job is trying to make sense of data, trying to understand like, I get this question, I'm trying to invest in this company. And so a lot of your job is trying to make sense of the information that's out there, pull it from related sources, put it together in nice PowerPoints, or just, at the end, create an interactive visualization. And so I was there from, I think, when they first moved to Singapore. And I was there all the way until they finally got acquired by Meta. And it was really exciting. I think I joined at a really great time. The team was great. Every night we were pushing like great features and we were pushing like state of the art. Um, when I was kind of deciding whether or not to go to Meta, I was fortunate enough to get an offer from DeepMind to join the developer experience team. And so with that offer in mind, I ended up deciding to take that offer and I joined DeepMind about 2.5 months ago. And it's been really exciting since. I think my job is just to try to figure out how to make it easier for people to build on Gemini. It's a great model. I think like the new 3.5 Flash model is something that's been really exciting for me. I've been very surprised by what it's been able to do.
Yeah.
And so that kind of is like the background of how I ended up all the way from Singapore to San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, and so we have another San Francisco transplant too. So that's cool. Welcome to the community.
Yeah, it's a nice place though. I've been very surprised by how friendly people are in San Francisco and how open and like I think people are to just discussing very technical concepts and everyone's working on something very exciting. It's been great. It's been really great. Yeah.
They're more friendly to you if you have credits to give too. Just letting you know.
We're working on that. I think maybe we can do a Mastra and DeepMind hackathon.
Oh,
I
for
think that'll be
sure.
fun.
Yeah, we should do
yeah.
that for sure.
Yeah.
So big event happened, what, 2 weeks ago, IO. I saw it all over Twitter. You all paid, you all used, all the bells and whistles were out. Could you give us like a little recap of that?
Yeah, so I think I/O is just I/O is, if you're not familiar, it's Google's annual flagship conference where we announce all of the different product launches. For me, I think like this was the first time I actually saw I/O, and being there in person, seeing like the huge sort of venue and scale that it is was like just really like mind-boggling. So you have everyone from like Waymo to the guys doing Android to the guys who like doing the Genie models and like us who are like working on the API and the models at DeepMind. Like it's just pretty incredible to see how far like everyone's kind of pushing the boundaries. So I think like for me this year, it was the first time I worked on a product and we launched it. It was called Gemini Managed Agents. And so what it makes it possible for you to do is that you can basically use the anti-gravity harness in your own applications. We give you a sandbox out of the box and you can basically get it to do whatever you need to do. But it was really exciting to kind of see like a product that I worked from like start to finish, launch it, and then we had a new model, and then just the general love, I guess, for everyone for all across all of our different products. I think we shared that the overall token volume is something like 3.2 quadrillion tokens this month,
Wow.
which is I never expected to hear a number that big. You look at it, you're like, whoa, that's a big number.
Yeah, I have to even think about how to what that what that number even is.
Yeah, it's actually really exciting because I think like there were two things that were really like interesting to me that stood out initially at the initial keynote. One is that of course outside like you're seeing this huge consolidation whereby in every single Google product now Gemini is being used. I don't know if you guys have tried like Ask Maps where you can actually
Hmm.
talk to Gemini within Maps. It's my favorite feature. Like when I'm worrying about like, hey, today I'm really hungry, what do I eat around me? I can just ask Gemini, or hey, I want to grab coffee with someone. Like where do I go in between us? Like it's just been really cool to see Gemini being embedded in a lot more of these applications. But also, I think the really exciting part is like joining DeepMind. It's very different when you see it from the outside and the inside because when you go in, you see like I know there was this post that went viral where Steve Yege was like, "Hey, DeepMind is cooked" or something like that, and then it was like no one's using AI coding and stuff. But it's actually incredible because internally, I think the amount of tokens we're consuming is doubling like every few weeks. I think it was something like I think we shared some internal numbers, but I think from the time that we announced that number, it's like kind of doubled in like 3 weeks since then, and it's only gone up. Like we're really trying to push on all fronts, and it's just been really exciting to see and work alongside the people training the models, building the applications, and also now trying to make sure it's easy for people, builders who are using frameworks like Mastra, for example, to just be out there, yeah, and use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool seeing Gemini in all the surface areas that you use every day. Like I was
Mm,
using Gemini in search, which then linked to Maps. Then I was in Maps and I was asking Gemini in there as well. And
mm,
kind of like, like, I remember a lot of our team, especially, we stopped doing Google search and we would just go straight to ChatGPT, right, for search. It like became like this period of our lives. But now you can just go back to Google search and you can get the same kind of experience right at the top, right? And it's so cool to
mm.
see Gemini everywhere now.
Yeah,
A lot of
I
underdogs.
definitely feel like Google search is more back into my daily routine where it kind of dropped off. At least some of it had dropped off a bit, but it feels back mostly to me.
I think so. It's actually quite interesting to me. Like I think if you asked me 2 years ago, like what was gonna happen to search engines like Google, like I would have been like, oh, I'm just gonna talk to like Gemini or like ChatGPT, and I'm never gonna use the search engine again. But it's almost like the more you ask questions, the more things you want to explore, and then you end up like really diving really deep. And I think like AI mode has actually been something I enjoy a lot. There were some really cool demos I saw at I/O where they chatted with like on Google search where I was like, hey, I'm interested to find about black holes, and then they actually created a whole canvas out of the box, and it was like, oh, you could interact with it, and I'm quite excited to hopefully be on the way like the to be able to use that. I think they're rolling it out bit by bit. Yeah.
So is Antigravity the new, like, that's where everything's going through, not Gemini CLI, right?
Yeah, so I think right now what we're seeing is like there's a lot of consolidation. So we have the anti-gravity CLI, which I think is going to be maintained a lot more. There's the anti-gravity application, which is, the sort of, I guess, the single application you can interact with. You don't need to see the IDE. I think there's a lot more people are kind of being comfortable working with models without having to expect every line of code. That becomes like a go-to. And then you have the anti-gravity IDE, which is the original VS Code fork that they started with, and then they forked it out. It is a little confusing. I think, there's so many things that are happening all the time, but that's been really exciting. I mean, I think like for me, it's been like something that I've been using like a lot. But for me, I think one of my favorite like new launches has been like Omni.
Okay.
So it's yeah, yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen. Do you guys follow this Twitter account called like Foffer?
No, we should.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Spoffer is a. Oh, let me just see if I can share my screen.
Sure.
Foffer is someone on our team. Can you see my screen?
No.
No?
Not yet.
That is strange. Okay, let me try it again. Let me share my screen. Oh, that's that's weird. It says that Riverside is sharing my screen, but I don't see anything.
Say.
Yeah, we also don't see it here.
That's strange. Um, yeah, but basically, if you go to Foffer's site, you can see these like really incredible demos. So basically, with Omni, you can see that, you know,
What's the name? What's the name? How do you pronounce it? We'll look
yeah,
it up.
it's FOFR.
FOFR.
Foffer AI. So I think you can see like, let me just try to send it. Oh, now you can, I think this works now. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes, we got it.
Yeah,
Nice.
so a lot of these are basic. Foffer is up here. You can see like Foffer AI, FOFR AI. He's a prompt engineer in our team. He works a lot on the generative media side, and you can see like he uploads like a lot of different
Wow.
basically like videos of what Omni is doing. One of my favorite demos, let me scroll down to find it, is basically you can just see that Omni is basically able to create these really like interesting like videos. I think that it's not playing the audio for some reason because I'm sharing my screen, but one really cool one is just like you can see over here, Google I/O. He like replaced it with the Xbox, like kind of like screen. First Google I/O 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then there were another bunch of launches where, you know, he took his feed and there's a guy walking down from it. All right. And I think the one that I thought was really cute was this one. So we have these, I don't know if you have these in the offices where you have like a
The bevy.
little, yeah, it's the one that gives you like a carbonated water.
Yeah.
And you can kind of choose what you want, but he made it into like one that spits out like rabbits. And then I thought like the cool one, let me try to scroll it down a little bit more, was basically we have this podcast called Release Notes. And what he did is he basically superimposed over here. So this is Release Notes. It's a really serious podcast where normally we showcase like people talking, you know, like we talk about the new stuff that we've launched, and you can see how Omni is able to splice in these like edits in a very natural way. I would love to have shown the audio. It's not working for some reason. You can see like Logan with like, you know, the giant potted plant, and then you can see like, you know, everyone with like the spaghetti.
Yeah, the spaghetti test is always, you know, I just remember a couple years ago, it was such a mess to try to get any video to show eating, especially spaghetti, and now it handles it so much better.
And now Michael
Yeah.
Jordan can be eating spaghetti for real.
I think it's time to find a new benchmark, you know? And I
Yeah.
think the funniest part was actually this was a Omni video that we launched. Like initially we did a launch video where Logan said like Gemini, and this was actually created by Omni. And so the really cool part of Omni is that it's kind of like Nano Banana for video, where you can kind of describe very natural, like you can describe the edits that you want in natural language, and you'll kind of like cut and splice around it, which is really cool. And the new Flash 3.5 model. Yeah, I have a few demos that I prepared ahead of time if you want to see like what I created with Flash 3.5.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
The
so
audience loves to see demos. So yes,
like
let's see
you
it.
can see over here, like this is like a Windows XP kind of like a clone that I got. What is essentially 3.5 to do? It one shot this in like Antigravity. So these are like websites that I've created ahead of time that are hosted on like Convex, and so you can see like this Clippy over here like talking to you. It's moving. All these frames are like created by like Nano Banana. There's a Tamagotchi over here. Let me zoom in on it, and you can see like basically all these frames are kind of being like cycled through. And then this is for me just a simple like habit app, but it's like been really fun to like vibe code and build a lot of these. I think 3.5 is just a really creative model, and it's been fun to just like be able to do this. I've heard there's like a test where you kind of like are able to close this window all the way here, and it should work, but I think I need to tune this a bit more. But yeah, it's just been like vibe coding a lot of these like simpler apps, and they've been like really fun to do. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that was, you were using Antigravity, which Antigravity product were you using?
I was using Antigravity IDE because I still like to look at the code. Yeah. But I think I've been slowly migrating over to the new like Antigravity, like the one that you don't look at the code, just the normal Antigravity app. Yeah, I don't know. I think like for me, like AGI was when I used Flash 3.5 to buy everything for my new room. Like I just give it like a browser tool, and it's just like go on Amazon, buy it for me, and it bought like a new like monitor stand, it bought like a bunch of like lights, it bought like a smart plug, and I'm like, I love it.
That's legit.
Yeah.
Do you have a demo of the manage agents?
Yeah, I think I did a bunch of like demos over here. So what I did is I got it to basically create like a podcast about Mastra.
Cool.
So the way it works is that if you load it from scratch, you can basically give it like a topic or creative outline. So for example, you can say like, write me a short script about the Mastra team and what the framework that they created does. And if you generate this, it's going to boot up a agent in its own sandbox, and this agent runs the full anti-gravity harness. You can add in additional skills. We'll have support for custom tool calls at some point. And right now, like this, you can see like this sandbox is pretty snappy, and it's actually persistent by default. And so whatever you install on it, whatever you save on the sandbox, you can kind of go back to it at some point. If you switch back over here, like you get a very nice podcast.
And unfortunately, I don't think we can hear the audio.
Oh no. We also can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, we lost. Ivan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
you're back.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we can't hear the audio. But
Oh shit.
yeah, maybe you
If
could
you reshare
Yeah.
in bottom
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
there's like a
I can reshare it, but you can see like this is kind of just using our own like native TTS model, and
Sick.
so like it's going back and forth. It's talking about Mastra. I did some web searches about you, and then from there like it's able to put together this notebook ARM clone. I'd never tried notebook ARM until like a week ago, and I've been using it like on the go, and so I kind of want to replicate it for my own stuff because I don't want to log into the app and get it there. So I was just like, oh, let me
Yeah.
create something with these agents.
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminds me of Notebook LM, and you just quickly built it, which is awesome.
Yeah, so you can do it all with like a very simple like API call, but I think like definitely when you want like a bit more control, like then you got to fall back to a framework like Mastra, and you want to use other models. But I think it's just a pretty exciting thing just to be able to take a whole product from like the initial like, hey, I'm trying this. This is a new product launching, to take it all the way to IO and have it there. So yeah, it's just been like pretty exciting over there. Yeah. Have you guys been able to try the new like Flash 3.5 model, etc.?
Yeah, we got into we signed an NDA, so maybe I'm not allowed to talk about it. But no, we got access to some of the newer stuff. But I mean, obviously this is public now. I think mostly for us, we want to use like for internal use. We're like trying to do things that max on Bench, right? And I feel like Gemini's never talked about as a coding model, or at least that good of a coding model. What would you say to that, I guess, having, being from DeepMind?
Yeah, I think with regards to like Gemini not being a coding model, I think like for me, I've often been very surprised at like the kind of creative solutions that Gemini gives me. So for example, I was working with some like Python scripts, and when I used like Opus and I used like GPT, they suggested you got to rip out all the code you have. You need to install this new library, and then it's going to work as a CLI agent that you built. But I think Gemini suggested a very good like integration that in just like 3 lines was able to solve my problem. And so I would say that a lot of times, like when it comes to like coding agents, I think like Gemini 3.5 Flash is a incredibly capable model. We do have a pro model that's, we're testing and training, and we're going to ship like when it's ready, that we announced at IO2. But, I think it's just a lot of times, I think you just need to get used to the model. This is, I think, a model that we've been intensely dog fooding and working very hard to kind of get out there. So like internally, tons of developers have been trying it. We've been getting feedback. And I think now that we have the model out there, we're getting feedback from users. We're putting it in frameworks like Mastra. We're trying things like open code. We're trying to do it with like OpenClaw. As we get more like feedback, and we know like what are the evaluations that we're not doing very well, and if we're able to reproduce them, I'm very confident in the DeepMind team. I think we have like one of the strongest research teams around, and so I think a lot of it is just we want to basically get more feedback on people and how this model is doing, and then it helps shape our roadmap, how we can train better models. Because this is a model that we've been intensely dogfooding ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. My initial reaction is like 3.5 is really good at front end, while GPT 5.5 is very bad. You know,
Mm.
so like those are like the type of use cases like you can start seeing, because you really have to get to know the model when you switch to a new one. I mean, I think everyone's been Opus pilled for a long time, so they kind of don't know how to interact with other models. Even us internally, we're switching to like 5.5, and people notice like the temperament of the model changes immediately. What they expect in like the dialogue changes. But we'll be trying it out deeply, and we'll give you some good feedback for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I would love to know like how you guys are like how you guys find it, where are some of the issues that it's not doing so well. Yeah, I think like it helps us a lot in trying to shape our roadmap to see like how we can train the next generation of models.
Yeah.
But I feel like IO was just like this intense sort of like experience leading up to it. I think like everyone was kind of working towards IO as a goal, and like now that it's out, I'm just like, oof, like it's just really exciting to see your products out there. Like people are using the stuff that you ship, and you're just like, oh, it makes you feel very good about it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's wrap it up on one last question I have for you. If you were to do a prediction for the rest of the year, what would you predict in the AI community, AI space? Like, what's one prediction? What's on your bingo card that you want to see checked off?
Uh, I think for me, like as a prediction, I think like agents are just gonna I think we're gonna be rolling like so many more agents in like day-to-day life. I think we're just gonna see like token consumption go up. Like I would love to see like more people building agents. Everyone's rolling like different frameworks, and Mastra is one, like we have managed agents, but I think like it's just gonna empower so many people to build automations and agents for day-to-day life. And so I think like that's something I feel like you're gonna see not just in the tech community, but like in people that are just traditionally non-technical. Like my mom's asking me about OpenClaw now. And she's like, "Hey, what's this OpenClaw thing? People keep forwarding it to me." And I'm like, "Oh, let
It,
me walk you through it here." And I think it's just like it's really exciting to see like a lot of people just start playing with like models and feel the AGI, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think like that's my prediction. That like you see a lot more people, it's just gonna be so normalized to just build and deploy so many more agents. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks, Ivan. This was awesome. Thanks for walking us through everything. We'd love to have you on the show again in the future. Maybe after the next model release or any exciting things that you ever want to come and announce here. Floor is yours whenever you want.
For sure. Thank you so
yeah.
much for having me.
And what's the
That's
best
it.
way for people to see what you're doing? Follow the DeepMind team. What do you recommend?
Yeah, I think I'm on Twitter at IvanLeoMK, IVANLEOMK. So that's probably like the easiest way to reach out to me. I read every Twitter message that I can. And I think for us, like we're very happy to hear like feedback and like how we can do better or how we're doing great. So I think that's like the best way.
Yeah, everyone go give Ivan a follow. And yeah, we'll see you around, dude.
Yeah, see you around, man. Take care.
Thanks, Ivan.
Dude, did you subscribe?
Dude, I host the show. Did you subscribe?
Did you subscribe?
Subscribe to Agents Hour every Monday, noon Pacific.
Agents Hour here to stay. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI will get involved.
Dude, that was tight.
Yeah. Ivan's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should go give him a follow if you are listening or
Yeah,
watching.
so when I met Ivan, after I met him, I sent him all these recommendations for Napa, and he went and had a great time. And now I want to go to Napa with him and have some wine. So it'll be fun when we get the whole SF crew out to Napa or Sonoma or something.
Yeah, and I do like what he said about his mom talking about OpenClaw or something, because I have a cousin who is not an engineer, not a developer, and he spun up a Hermes agent just this last week and was telling me all the stuff that it was doing. And he's like, "Do you understand all this?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, I live this every day. Like I'm living this stuff." But it is definitely like crossed the chasm, right?
Yeah.
Of just when you have, and he is relatively like, fairly tech savvy, but he does not work in tech at all. He works for the state government. It's like
Yeah.
He's like fixing roads and plowing snow and spinning up Hermes agents, you know?
Dude, do you think it's gonna be like, you know how like before anyone was an engineer, like their family like would be like, oh, he's technical because he could fix the printer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, it's wild. So, I mean, it is definitely like capturing attention. So I agree with Ivan's take that agents are going to be everywhere because it's like, yeah, it's even easy. I think it's even easier than it used to be for people to just like spin up a blog or a website, right? It's
Yeah.
like the personal blog. Now everyone's going to have a personal agent, but maybe even more so.
You know, remember last year's predictions, we were like Gemini is like the dark horse in the race. And you know, even today we think like they're like the underdogs, right? But I'm seeing Gemini in all my apps like everywhere now. I'm a Google user, obviously, and like I'm just seeing Gemini everywhere, which might be the best psyop ever, you know, to just get that model
Yeah.
in front of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they released Nano Banana though, that was I was using that quite a bit. You know, there's I think a lot of they have a lot of potential to be. They're always going to be competitive, right? You know
Yeah.
that they're going to be competitive, and even if they are, in some cases, you know, for coding a touch behind, they're like one or two models away from, you know, jumping everybody, right? They have the
Yeah.
if you were on the outside looking in, you would say like Google is very well positioned. Obviously, XAI is very well positioned. Like those two could easily overtake Anthropic and OpenAI, and
Yeah.
it would not surprise me. So, yeah, they're still a little bit of a dark horse, but I think they're certainly gaining momentum.
Yeah, and I totally you know, as an iPhone user, I totally forget how well positioned they are for Android devices and on-device LLMs and everything. So, yeah, we shouldn't count them out at all.
Definitely not. All right, dude. Well, I suppose it's that time of the show.
It's that time.
The thing we do every week. We got to cover the news. So let's do it. All right. Let's get into the news today. Here's a little preview of what we're going to be covering. Some callbacks from last week. We talked about the Pope talking about AI. The Pope released this X post, and it says artificial intelligences do not undergo experiences, do not possess a body, do not feel joy or pain, do not mature through relationships, and do not know from within what love, work, friendship, or responsibility mean. Nor do they have a moral conscience, since they do not judge good and evil, grasp the ultimate meaning of situations, or bear responsibility for consequences. They may imitate or even simulate, but they do not understand what they produce, for they lack the effective relational and spiritual perspective through which human beings grow in wisdom. So for those that don't know, the Pope put out a huge document. I don't remember, it was like a book basically.
Yeah.
Around AI. I doubt he wrote all of it himself, but it obviously was well informed on
What if he
writing it.
used AI to write it?
I saw someone joke that said, "Joke's on you, now all these tokens are going to be consumed summarizing your really long post because no one is going to read that long of a post." I'm assuming that all this stuff is excerpts from it, but definitely caught some attention, got a lot of views, and obviously when you have a very public figure like this speaking out against AI, that is, it's newsworthy.
You know, here's another random thing. I was with Grayson last week, and his son is going to go meet the Pope. He's on a trip to the Vatican, so maybe he can go ask him some AI questions as well.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about it, even the Pope.
Yeah.
We talked about Kyle Kuzma going on TBPN. Apparently, it happened. Did you ever actually watch it?
Yeah, dude. Psychosis is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
He went on it though. It's good watch. It's pretty funny if you're deep in this, you know.
Yeah. So you got even NBA stars talking about AI. The Pope.
Yeah, American
NBA stars.
dynamism. He kept using the word American dynamism. Like I don't even know what that means, bro. But thanks for coming on.
And Kyle, you're welcome to come on this show.
Yeah, please.
Open invitation.
I'm a huge fan.
All right, we got to talk about the big announcement since last week. It's only been, we were a little late to the news last week, so I think it was Wednesday when we actually
Yeah.
did it live. But late last week, Opus 4.8 came out.
Yeah, last Thursday. Yep.
And so this says, excited to release Opus 4.8 today. We heard your feedback on 4.7 and we made many fixes for 4.8. 4.8 understands his nuances better, feels much more natural to talk to, and is overall a stronger collaborator on everything from coding to knowledge work.
Have you been using it?
I've used it a little bit. My daily driver is still 5.5.
Yeah.
I haven't done that. I haven't, ran that many loops since this came out. I've been running some and, I'm still using a lot of 5.5. But I didn't notice a huge difference. Maybe feels a slight bit upgrade from 4.7, but it's not a huge step change. I don't think they're calling it a big step change, right?
Yeah.
But I think everyone was kind of disappointed in the 4.6 to 4.7 jump. And so maybe it feels like maybe people are less disappointed in this jump, but I don't know. What's your take on it?
So I've been running a lot of loops with it, using it on like goals and stuff. We have /goal and Mastra. I would say it is not like I didn't notice any good or bad improvements. I think it's pretty much to the line of, working fine the way it was. It has changed its tone a bit. It's not as friendly as it was, I think. I tried to get it to curse. It didn't curse this time, so that's interesting. But it's a good model. It's it's good on SWE and everything else. So, yeah, if you were expecting some great shit, it's not. So, or some great advancement, I don't feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a post online where it said that a bunch of people that this person knows and they were pretty well respected. I think it was maybe a Dex Horthy or something. I could be misquoting, but basically said that a lot of people that they know that switched to 5.5, went to 4.8 for a while, and they just went back to 5.5 because they didn't notice a significant difference. So I do think it's in the realm of 5.5 capable, but just depends on what your flavor is. Who do you like to talk to more?
Yeah.
This was interesting though. This is from Swix and says this was a quote from the launch. It says, they have dynamic workflows, and it says developers can update Claude's instructions mid-task without breaking the prompt cache or routing the update through a user turn, which is interesting.
Yep.
Prompt caching is important, and even with alongside 4.8 launching dynamic workflows, they apparently have some magic going on under the hood where it can even update mid-task and not break the prompt cache, which is cool.
Yeah, we have something for that this week. Just a little spoiler.
Don't spoil everything,
I'm not gonna spoil it yet.
And so there's this new benchmark, Deep SWE, that we talked about last week. So they talked about where Opus 4.8 landed, and if you look, it landed in second place. So it's definitely better than 4.7, but it's still behind GPT 5.5, and it's at 58%. So good model. In this specific benchmark, not as good. Of course, this is just one benchmark. I saw some hate on this benchmark.
Yeah.
Saying that it is, there are some things that don't seem to make sense. Where I think there had, in some cases like Sonnet was ranking below like some way lesser models in certain cases. So I think it's just you got to take all these benchmarks as this is a new one. It's going to show, so it's supposed to represent more real life coding tasks, which I think is good, but it may not be necessarily your experience, because in some cases it's how do you talk to the model? How do you interact with it? But I think it is, up in the air on how good it is, but it does feel like it's at least a good benchmark to put in the list of benchmarks to check when new models come out.
Yeah, it's almost like you want to take your opinion from how it scores across them and then form your opinion from there.
Yeah. If it's just really good on one benchmark and terrible on all the others, well, maybe maybe that's not a good model. And then this was, speculation last week. GPT 5.6 was spotted in Codex backend logs. Was it going to be released? It was not. It did not come out. But there's some speculation that this week could be the week. So we'll find out. It's only Monday, but there might be a new, potentially a new OpenAI model. I did see a post that were about to release it, but they found some bugs maybe. And so it's coming, I think. It's most likely to be called GPT 5.6, I guess, but who knows? I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but we will probably find out pretty soon. But this was big news. This came out today. This is from Anthropic. It says Anthropic has confidentially submitted a draft S1 registration statement to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Pending completion of the SEC review, this gives us the option to pursue an initial public offering. So Anthropic's probably going public, and they're probably going to do it before OpenAI.
Unless OpenAI now has to confidentially submit their S1 as well.
And then they try to speed run each other, see who can get there
Speed run
first.
each other. Yeah. I wonder, I mean, OpenAI has been prepping for this for a while, so maybe they already have a bunch of legwork done. I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I wonder if OpenAI is more complicated because they had the nonprofit conversion to a for-profit, and they still have a nonprofit that has ownership stake in the for-profit, and
and they have legal drama.
Yeah, it's a bunch of legal drama around it. I wonder if that just muddies the water and makes it more complicated. I'm no lawyer. I'm not I know very little about bringing a company public, but I gotta imagine it doesn't help.
Yeah, I'll make this joke that I made earlier, but like it's weird that you say it's confidentially submitted and then you post it on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, Anthropic has confidentially submitted, except we're going to post about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you think you'll buy on IPO day if it happens?
That is a good question. Not financial advice.
Not financial advice.
This is not financial advice. I don't know. Probably. Why not?
Yeah.
I'll buy a small portion of a share. I'm not gonna, who knows what the share price is.
I really wonder what the IPO price will be. It's probably gonna be fat.
Yeah, and it's gonna. Yeah, I think if you are, an Anthropic employee, this is gonna be a big day for you.
Oh, for sure.
Especially if you've been there for more than a year.
Dude, like there's so many jokes going on today about how the SF real estate market is about to collapse, in terms of not collapse but go upward, and all these Anthropic people are. Yep, there we are. I guess we can just talk about this right now.
Let's talk about it. All right, tell us.
All right, so this is so funny because there's a Zillow posting so first off, SF real estate is super expensive, and it actually took a dip during COVID. Pre-AI, it took a dip as well. Like if you bought a place in 2023, 2024, you could get a reason. I mean, SF was never reasonable, but you can get a house. Like you could buy one, and if you've been saving your whole life, you could buy one. But now we're getting really small homes. Like, for example, like in South Dakota, 2,400 square feet, that is child's play, right? These are small homes that are like crazy per square footage, right? So this one was like $1,200 a square foot. Holy crap, right? And a lot of these are tenancy in common. So you're sharing this apartment building with 3 other people. So you don't even own the building by yourself.
Yeah, or any land around it.
Or any land. And you're paying this much. And this is where it gets funny, because in this description, Anthropic or OpenAI stock will be considered as payments, which kind of makes okay, in some ways it makes sense, right? A lot of these people are not liquid. So they will to even qualify for the loan, they probably don't have enough. Maybe some people have good credit history, etc., but they don't have enough assets to actually, do this. But you could just pay for it in your Anthropic stock and buy it cash, no mortgage. I
mean, I don't know how that works, because Anthropic was going to, go back on any secondary sales that happened or whatever. So it's like, is that even possible? Can I actually, even as an Anthropic employee, it's not liquid stock,
No.
But it could be soon, as we just talked about. Now that becomes even more likely that once it's public and you have that public stock, you can, of course now it's liquid, so you could sell that stock, or maybe you just, transfer that stock over.
Yeah, I guess you have to make some agreement with the owner or whatever.
Yeah, it would be, there'd be some written agreement there, and I don't know how it's enforceable. seems tricky, but it's very interesting that they're allowing you to use, or at least leverage your stock to buy SF real estate.
You know, they were saying Gen Z will never buy a house. Well, if you're Gen Z and you work at Anthropic or OpenAI, you have a good chance.
Yeah, well, I feel like if you work at Anthropic or OpenAI, you would have had a good chance anyways.
True.
Anthropic also announced, this was May 28th, we've raised $65 billion in Series H funding at a $965 billion post-money valuation. This investment will help us advance our research and expand our capacity to meet growing demand for Claude. Interesting. And then this was a funny same day. This is from Polymarket. It says, new, an AI consultant reveals a client accidentally spent $500 million in a single month after failing to set employee limits on Claude usage.
The reason why this is funny is because Anthropic reported their first profitable month. And maybe this is why.
And they got one customer that just... So let's walk through, how does this happen? Someone turns on Claude for the entire organization and says like, hey, someone was probably given the job of like, hey, we need to be AI-ified. And they said, okay, we'll use Claude. Sign up for an account. Everyone can sign in and use it. And then people just started using the API credits and just burned $500 million in 1 month. I mean, it must have been a huge, probably Fortune 1000 company, right?
Totally.
To be able to afford this.
And also, I learned last week that, bigger companies, everyone signed up on the Anthropic platform. I think within terms of service, you are like relegated to enterprise plan, which that means for everyone here, that is not max plan usage. That is enterprise API token usage. So like you can't, it kind of makes sense if you're like a company of 10,000 people, everyone burning, like just doing, slop loops. You could like spend money very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember who it was, but told me that, they sometimes at points have spent like $6,000 in a couple days or something. So if you imagine you have a bunch of people spending a few $1,000s each over the course of a month, and you have tens of thousands of employees that just got access to this new toy and they want to see what it can do, I bet you 95% of that wasn't useful.
No.
Because it was probably a bunch of people got access to it for the first time, trying to see what it could do, and just having to do random things that, as they figured it out, right? As they kicked the tires, so to speak.
It may not even be Claude Code usage. It could be Cowork slop. It could be Claude Desktop straight up slop, things like that.
Yeah, I bet it was a lot of Claude Cowork.
Yeah.
If I were to guess.
So like let's say you have 1,000 employees, and this is the last thing I'll say. You have 1,000 employees and everyone spends $1,000 a month. That's $10 million, right? Now, if these like, let's say they spend $6,000 like that example we saw, $60 million in a month. It's kind of reasonable, right? If everybody's using it.
Yeah, but this is like, I bet you 10,000 people at this company got access all in 1 month.
Yeah.
And they all were like, they got a new toy and they wanted to play with it. So they went in, they logged in, they played around. Some people were running loops overnight and just testing out what they could do. Probably did some cool stuff. Maybe or maybe not useful. Probably not, but maybe. Definitely not 500 million worth of usefulness, though. I will guarantee that.
I wonder if it bankrupted the company.
Yeah, I imagine it didn't, but I bet it hurt. I wonder if they went to Anthropic and asked for like an installment plan. We pay you over the course of the next 6 months on this 500 million. Also, that came out last week. This was kind of around the 4.8 timeline. Anthropic says, we're making swift progress on developing these safeguards and expect to be able to bring Mythos class models to all our customers in the coming weeks. So Anthropic shipping might not be done. Maybe there's a new model coming outside of 4.8. Let's talk about Minimax. So Minimax M3 dropped. It dropped technically yesterday, I think.
Yep.
And so Minimax M3, the first open weights model to combine 3 frontier capabilities. So coding and agentic frontier, so it scores pretty well on SweetBench Pro, Terminal Bench, and a few others. It has sparse attention, so it scales context to 1 million in the context window. And then it's multimodal. You've been playing around with Minimax M3. What have your thoughts been so far?
Yeah, I've been daily driving it since we talked to them. I would say like it is in these benchmarks is very comparable to 4.7 according to the benchmarks, and I would agree with that. Like it's pretty good at coding. I mean, it's pretty really good at coding for how cheap it is. You know, I did like 3 loops last night, cost me $4, and these were like pretty heavy. I will say though, it's very slow. It's super freaking slow. It's it's so slow that you have to have patience using it. Otherwise, you're gonna like lose your mind because you're used to things just going so fast on a frontier model. Maybe a lot of that is because they don't have the same GPU infrastructure we have. Maybe a lot of that is our own application code invalidating the prompt cache a lot. So it's just doing uncached things. But either way, I think it's pretty smart. I'm kind of like becoming an open model maximalist. So if it keeps going on like this, I'm going to start recommending people just use open models for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, especially if you're actually building agents, depending on what your agent is doing, there's a really good chance that an open weight model could fill that void of whatever that agent is doing, especially if it's a scoped task. You probably don't need frontier level intelligence for basic things. You know, it's like
Yeah.
triage this issue. Do you need Opus 4.8 or GPT 5.5 to do that? And especially if it's not time bound. If you don't
Yeah.
care if it takes 20 seconds or a minute, because it's some kind of automated triage task with some level of intelligence, like maybe you should be trying some of these open models, especially when you start to get to cost being a factor, which, you know, sometimes folks, you can get away with not caring about cost for a while. You just need to make sure it all works and get the highest quality results possible. And then at some point there's some kind of a balancing act you do in your head of, I can save this much and maybe lose very little or maybe just a little bit of quality, and that's worth it because it'll save so
Yeah.
much money and it still provides a ton of value.
Tyler and I have a theory of like this optimal situation with the open model, where you use the open model, let's say for a coding task, and you want to run it in a goal. You use the coding model to write all the code, and goals have judges. You use a frontier model to judge each checkpoint of the code. You're going to spend way more tokens writing code than judging code. So there's like a mixed model approach where maybe you want the frontier intelligence to validate and verify things, but then you just let it cook on autonomous loops just writing code. And then you can have the best of both worlds.
And what if we've talked about this different, like, I don't remember exactly what they're called, but it's basically like a group of agents, right, to do the same task. If it's cheap enough, maybe you have Minimax try it, and you have DeepSeek try it, and then you have Opus 4.8 as your judge. It tells you like this one's the best path. Keep going on that route, and then it gates the quality, right? And then there's like a judge before you even look at it as the human that has said like, I've gated the quality. I've went back and forth with this lesser powered model, and it now is up to the standard of what we want. But I didn't have to. Yeah, it's almost like that secondary judge can help get better results, right? Because if you think about it, oftentimes when I'm coding, I'm that judge, right? I tell it to do something, it does a few loops. I look at it, I say, no, we got to do it this way, or yes, this is good, but we also need to add this I forgot about. So if you can have a frontier level judge to kind of guide it, you can hopefully, ideally get farther without a human having to interrupt it or look at it. But then you also know that you still have kind of that gatekeeper that doesn't let slop get through the door.
Yeah. Like Tyler's running Quen on his gaming PC, and it can write code pretty well. So maybe writing code as a task of the agentic loop can be solved cheaply now instead of Opus writing the code. Maybe you just need Opus or 5.5 to think about stuff. It's pretty cool. We also signed up for Ali Cloud, so Mastra is going to be using some Chinese models. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll test them out and we'll report back.
Yeah.
But speaking of inference and running things locally, NVIDIA dropped a whole bunch of stuff at Computex, which just recently happened. So we'll go through some of the things that they announced on stage. So this is from NVIDIA Newsroom's X account. It says, the age of AI needs a new kind of CPU, introducing NVIDIA Vera, the CPU for agents, delivering 80% faster agentic task completion compared with x86 CPUs. Vera is built to power the CPU-intensive work behind modern AI factories, from agentic AI and reinforcement learning to data processing and orchestration. They also announced NVIDIA RTX Spark, a 1 petaflop superchip, the full CUDA and RTX ecosystem, and Windows native agents, a new beginning for personal computers.
Sick.
Which is wild. And then they announced NVIDIA DGX Station for Windows, the world's most powerful desk-side AI supercomputer with Windows powered by NVIDIA GB300. So you can run frontier AI models with up to 1 trillion parameters locally. So when it comes to local coding, you buy one of these suckers and you can just run it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what this is going to cost. It's got to cost tens of thousands of dollars, I would imagine. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing cost 20 grand.
I'd buy it.
I mean, maybe.
If I was a
Yeah.
small business, I'd buy it for sure.
I mean, maybe it'll be more than that. I don't know. I don't know if they've announced pricing. If you're in the chat, what do you think this thing's going to cost? Let's place some bets. I'm saying it's going to be like 25 grand, but maybe I'm even underselling it.
Dude, but imagine if your Claude bill is $25K a month and you're not needing the top intelligence, like you're an accounting firm or something. You could just run one of these. Maybe there's only one workstation, but you could like do a bunch of like SSH into that one from everybody else's computer.
It's like it's going to be this office where there's one office with this computer and you got to rent time to go into the office to use it. It's like the days of like the mainframe computers, for those of you old enough. Like I never used them, but you hear the stories of like you had to just like, there's only so many cycles, right? You had to like rent the time, but it saves a ton of money. But I could totally see, I mean, if you just think about it, 20, whatever it costs, let's just call it 25 grand, and maybe it'll be 50, maybe it'll be 10. Like I don't even know how to baseline this thing, but imagine you could just look at what you're spending on all your different coding tools. And if this could do 90% of it, right? And you could easily now, and Jensen basically said, if your AI engineer is not, if you're 250 or your 500K engineer isn't spending 250K in tokens, well, maybe this would pay for itself in a year, right?
Yeah. The DGX Spark is about $5 grand. And that's, like that's overtime and the cost, the economies of scale. So it'll probably come out of the gate pretty expensive.
Yeah. Well, producer Jan thinks 100 grand. I think that's high. I don't think anyone's going to be able to buy that, but maybe. I don't know.
Damn.
We're going to find out.
It's a company expense, right? We should get one.
Yeah, for science.
We'll just leave it at my house or our house.
Yeah. Well, I can only use it when I come into SF. Let me SSH into it.
Dude. You gotta rent some time and just SSH in there.
Yeah, I'll book some time on the calendar. I'll SSH into it. I'll use it. Also, they announced NVIDIA Nemotron 3 Ultra. You played around with it wasn't Nemotron 2, but you played around with the past one a little bit.
Yeah, and 3, but not the Ultra.
Okay, not Ultra. And you can just see the cost curve. It's a little blurry here, but the cost curve is less, more percentage of coding tasks completed for much less cost per task completion for Nemotron 3 Ultra, which is a 550 billion parameter model compared to Kimi K2.6, GLM 5.1, and Quen 3.5. But if you just look at this curve, even if the models aren't getting smarter, the costs are going down, which means we should be able to find the types of tasks that these agents can do that do provide value and are now in the ballpark of being reasonably priced. I think a lot of people are scared that everything's too expensive. They're not providing enough value, but these cost curves like really make me excited about the future, because even if the models don't get significantly smarter, and I do feel like, and I said this, last year as well, pre-November when 4.5 came out, that I felt like we were kind of hitting some plateaus. Maybe I'm feeling that way soon, and the labs will come and surprise us again. But even if they don't get significantly better, if the smaller models can start to reach some of the same capabilities, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And then eventually, like running it on your own hardware, it's quite good. But we'll have to change how we work with them for sure.
And this was not announced. This was earlier last week, so not announced at the conference, but I thought it was pretty funny, so I wanted to include it because there's a whole bunch of conversation that we had internally when we saw this thing. But this says NVIDIA will now pay you to put a mini AI data center on your house. It looks like a normal AC unit in the yard, but inside sits 16 NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs and Dell servers. A startup called Span builds them. They're backed by NVIDIA. They bolt onto your home, and you get paid for the power and Wi-Fi. So some estimates put that around $1,000 a month in your pocket. And those are pretty, and some people like fact check the estimates, and it's maybe not $1,000 a month. And some of them are in credits and all this, right? But ideally money back in your pocket in some ways, just for the space to rent this box outside. So what do you think? Are we gonna be seeing these like AC units of GPUs sitting outside people's houses in the suburbs?
Maybe in the nice neighborhoods, yeah. Once people figure it out.
Yeah, my joke was like, how does someone not know what the hardware is worth, and they just go and steal the
Yeah.
GPUs out of this thing, right? Like
Yeah.
there might not be, if you were a criminal, there's not a place to go steal than this,
Yeah.
because it's
The new
probably
catalytic converter.
hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. Sitting in a box outside someone's house.
Yeah, it's like that time when we bought like Darrow and Taufik Starlink, and then people stole it.
Yeah, because they're living in the not the nicest area. Yeah, it's just, but it does make sense, I guess. Like, does this thing need to be liquid cooled? Does you have to plug in the hose to it? Like,
Yeah.
how does it? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't because it's smaller, so it doesn't need to be. Can it run in hot areas? Can you put it outside?
Yeah.
Your brother's house in Austin. Seems
It'll
kind of
melt.
warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GPU is gonna melt. I don't know. What do you think about this long term?
I'd be down to try it. If I don't have to pay anything and I get paid for it.
Yeah, I mean, my question would be like, is it hot? Could my kid touches it? Is he gonna burn their hand?
Yeah.
Is it loud? Do you hear the fans running, and so it sounds like a really loud air conditioning unit? But assuming it was relatively silent and safe, yeah, I'd be down, right?
Yeah.
Now,
I'd
I'd
be
really be down if I could like hook into it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can use it, but I want to have like some insane amount of local inference, so I don't have to have this $100,000 or $25,000, whatever's going to cost CPU
Yeah.
computer sitting in I can just go plug into the thing outside my house that has the capabilities. I think you'd get a lot of people if they could get their own inference, like a certain allotment of it. I think they'd be open to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know if this is true or not, but Rosh says that unit is exploding in Nashville.
Exploding in terms of like it'll explode, or
or like blowing up, like people are trying to use it. You need to clarify. All right, let's talk about OpenAI. So this is from OpenAI on X. It says, Windows users, this one's for you. Computer use now works on Windows, so Codex can take action on your Windows computer. And with Windows support for Codex in the ChatGPT mobile app, you can start, review, and steer tasks on the go while work continues on your Windows machine. So if you're a Windows user, you felt left out, you don't have to feel left out anymore. OpenAI also announced private MCP servers, for basically private MCP servers, handshaking OpenAI products. Your team can keep MCP servers inside your network while ChatGPT, Codex, and the Responses API connect through outbound-only HTTPS. So you can essentially use ChatGPT and other OpenAI products with your private MCP server. So if you're an enterprise, you want to use those tools with your private MCP, you can now do that. And Rosh clarifies, like house on fire. All right. Let's talk about some other coding agent news. dynamic workflows, we talked about a little bit, but dynamic workflows came to Claude Code. So Claude writes an orchestration script on the fly, then spins up large fleets or a large fleet of coordinated sub-agents in parallel to take on your most complex tasks. A lot of people, I think, were asking, how's this different from a goal? It sounds like, the biggest difference is it tries to write more deterministic code and then runs that code in parallel, right?
Yep.
And so it's the idea that maybe not everything should be deterministic. It's almost kind of like a code mode of sorts. Is that
Yeah.
right? Is that the right understanding of this?
Yeah, definitely. I gave this a spin. So I had to do like an audit task in the code base. And what it does is it thinks about it in a deterministic way, like iterate through files. For each file, do X task. For the sum of the results, then run it and summarize. And then, you have a workflow at the end of the day. The downside, I think, is if your task is large, it's going to optimize for doing things in parallel. So, for example, if I have 1,000 files in my code base, the array of files is an array of files, and then each file work on the for each is an agent call. And so now you have 1,000 agents running in parallel, which, more token usage and things like that. It's designed for parallel work. I did this. I saved the workflow. I looked at the code. It looks very similar to another workflow syntax that I'm very familiar with. And yeah, it just calls, you have a pipeline, which is like your workflow. And then within each step, it's just JavaScript. And then you have an agent function, which just passes what it needs to do. And then that's it. It's pretty cool, pretty straightforward.
And Rosh says, I hate this feature because now when I write workflow, it derails my whole prompt.
Yes.
Yeah, if you were to
Personal.
say, build me this Mastra workflow, it's gonna,
In some ways, it's pretty clever, to do that.
Yeah.
But it's annoying.
yeah, or build me this Cloudflare workflow. It's like anyone that uses something called workflow is now hijacked.
Yeah.
You feel like turn it off or something. Maybe you can. I don't know. Speaking of dynamic workflows, now Pi, introduced Pi dynamic workflows. And it says this is probably going to be bigger token burner than Pi goal, but dynamic workflows is the first implementation of sub-agents that I don't hate. This is from Michael Lives. And it's got some attention as well, but no, dynamic workflows are popping up. Unrelated, but Cognition came out and announced, and I think there was some speculation around this a couple weeks ago, but they've raised over 1 billion at a 26 billion valuation. So they've been on a tear, and they've officially announced that they've raised a lot of money at a huge valuation jump.
It's amazing.
XAI announced Grok Build 0.1 is now available via the XAI API in public beta. This is the same model that powers the Grok Build CLI and excels at agentic coding. So XAI is trying to stay in the game. Peter Steinberger came out and said that he's been teaching Codex to be his QA assistant. So for every commit, it creates a user test scenario and uses web VNC, Crabbox, computer browser use using Peekaboo and MC Porter to test OpenClaw like a user QA person would. This runs in the background and opens PRs with fixes. This is why he's burned so many tokens.
Yeah, dude. I use Peekaboo, and the thing burns tokens.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. And I think, but you can start to fast forward on, okay, look at the cost curves going down with these open models. Imagine you could do this and you didn't have to spend $1 million a month like Peter Steinberger, because the open models continue to get cheaper. And maybe it's, $1,000 a month, which is a lot. But if you're working for a company, maybe that's reasonable, right?
Yeah.
And you can have a ton of intelligence working on all the code that you write. So you can have more validation. I still do think, and I think you realize this quite a bit, I've realized this, you still can't trust it, right?
Yeah.
It's still not quite to the point. You can throw all the loops at it, and it still sometimes misses context. But if you look at it from enough different angles, the theory is you'll be able to catch more things that even you would have missed, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at it from, a ton of different angles with a bunch of different models. You're more likely to have it catch the context and understand that there might be issues with what you're doing.
Yeah, I got burned this weekend for only looking at a single view of the problem when you need to look at it from a bunch of different angles. Models are trained. I think the reward function is test passing, so they'll just make up tests that pass. You know.
Yeah. And that's why you need another agent that its goal is to validate and judge if this is a good test and if the PR, has other risks. I mean, that's why you do need, I would argue, for every one token you spend writing the code, we're going to be spending
Yeah.
10 tokens reviewing the code.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's too easy to write code now, and the models are so confident that it makes you feel confident, and you'll ship it because you don't understand the full system anymore, because the code is now, everyone's writing a lot more code, and so you can't possibly understand everything, and so
Yeah.
you're going to miss things. And I do think that Peter is ahead of the game on this. Not everyone can afford to do this today, but over time, I think you'll have to have mechanisms like this in place, because you can't understand everything, but you have to understand how the mechanisms work. This is from Kua. Today we're bringing Kua driver to Windows, so background computer use for any agent. Claude Code Codex on your own loop can drive real Windows apps through CLI or MCP while your desktop stays usable with true multi-synthetic pointer support. You've tested out Kua for Mac, right?
Yep, it's pretty solid. And we know these guys.
Let's talk about continual learning. So this is from Elad Gil, kind of a big name investor. It says the events of the last 6 months in technology are arguable amongst the most important in human history. The tools now increasingly exist for recursive self-improvement of models and agents. I think this is like Karpathy's like auto research proved this, and some other things that we're starting to see. But Elad goes on and says, we are likely in very early liftoff and exponential, and it's largely unnoticed outside of tech. So you could argue, is this just VC, pontificating potentially? But I think he's actually right here. There is something. And Swix also had this kind of funny, but also very true post that says every evals and analytics startup is going through a one-time generational upgrade into a continual learning platform in 2026. Many will fail, but as always, the tasteful ones win.
This will be the new company in 2027. As we saw all these coding agent companies come out, now it'll be the continual learning companies.
Right here. Here we go.
Good one.
So the first one that we've seen, and we'll see more, and there will be, so I think what you're going to see is the observability providers, a few of them are going to make the jump and be good. And there will be some new entrants that also are competitive, right? Like any new market. So this is a company called Trajectory.ai, and it says Trajectory is the platform for continual learning. Trajectory turns real product usage into AI that continuously improves. You also see this, Hermes agent's ability to write its own skills, right? It's this idea that an agent that continues to evolve, a system that continues to improve. And I think this is the new frontier that people are chasing. And so you're going to see a lot of companies fail, but you'll also see some, I think, actually succeed.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of open source continual agent frameworks that are being written. Obviously Langsmith has their version of this, Raindrop, etc. So do you think, so here's a question. If you're an observability company and you don't do this, are you out of business soon?
I think it becomes table stakes, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And then the ones that can't do it well are going to lose.
Yep.
That would be my guess.
So it might be the reason why people switch.
Because I think what you'll realize is that if you have used observability at any level of scale, it's no longer tenable to look at the traces and things yourself. You need, it's a data problem. You have so much data. How do you actually use that to improve your agent? Well, before the thought was, someone that's, the prompt engineer can look at the data and come up with how the prompt should change. But I think that was a temporary point in time where you'll still have people who are good at that, but they need help from systems that can read and analyze data at a larger scale than a human can.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why these systems are going to have to exist, because if you're building a small application, you're not going to need it. But if you're building something that has tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of users every day that are actually using your system, that's a ton of data. And you're going to have some kind of system that helps you manage it and then use that information to improve whatever the system is, right? Whether it's some kind of agent, some kind of agentic system, some kind of app. So I think it is the time is coming. I think there's going to be a lot of startup bloodshed along the way.
Yeah. And these are like new primitives too.
Yep. The game is always changing. All right, we're in the quick hits section. We're going to rapid fire through these last ones. So, friend of the show, Adish, announced Motion Studio. So premium launch videos creatively directed and produced end to end using our own video agents at a fraction of the cost and time of a traditional agency. So Mosaic is the product, but they're also realized that they built this really cool tool and they can actually just use it to help companies who don't want to learn how to use their tool, even though it is pretty easy to use. I've used Mosaic quite a bit. They'll do it for you. It's almost like an FDE model for and Motion Studio. But they'll build you a motion video for much cheaper because they're just using their video models and they're experts in how to use it. This is from Sue Kim, and it says, AI is making kids dumber. It should be making them geniuses. Introducing Koji, the first AI tutor that gets kids to actually think. And this is a really cool video. It was very well done. So if you have kids, if you want to figure out how to not just have them cheat using AI in ChatGPT and actually like use it to learn, because I think there's a difference. There's kind of people who will use AI to get smarter, and there will be people who use AI to just kind of get things done quickly and not actually understand what's happening. If you want your kid to be in the former group and they're actually like learning, I think based on the video, it looks awesome. Of course, I haven't tested it, right? But
Yeah.
my daughter's a little too young, I think. But eventually, I would want something like this. So this kind of stuff really does interest me. Asana, they're still around, acquires no-code agent builder Stack AI. I think we've met the Stack AI folks a while back, right?
Yeah. When we were in YC, we saw them like talk at an event. They are, they were a builder version of this stuff.
And the idea is they probably want to bring some of that to Asana. I'm assuming Asana's trying to stay in the agentic game, trying to be relevant.
Asana managed agents.
That's coming soon. Everyone wants managed agents. Everyone wants agent builders. Ivan talked about it. We talked about it. There's a ton of interest around kind of this like managed agents or agent builder type platforms. Corgi raised $106 million at a 2.6 valuation since announcing their last round 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And then they went on to say how the entire team works 7 days a week in the office.
And that Nico sleeps at the office and has a mattress there. And, that caused so much drama. If y'all haven't seen it on X, I would go look at it. There are many notable people who got involved in the conversation.
The Linear CEO came out and said,
Sorry.
This is ridiculous, basically. Like, I'm paraphrasing, of course. You read it yourself. But, yeah, I don't know.
David was in there, of course.
Yeah.
David
Kramer came on and said, yeah, like, I've never worked, I would never ask my employees basically to work 7 days a week.
Dude, the funniest stuff though from this. So Kari and Nico had like a spat, right? And so this was the funniest thing. So Nico was like, I imagine the Manhattan Project was not just a 1 day a week thing. And then Kari's like, yeah, I figured selling insurance is as important as making a nuclear bomb. So yeah, good luck. I hope there's no like spillage or something.
Yeah, we'll check back in 7 years or something.
Back in 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that too. I was like, that's a pretty bold comparison to compare business insurance to the Manhattan Project, and that what you're doing is as important to the world. Now, business insurance arguably is pretty important. Like, you need it. Like, there's some, it can save you. I think it's an important pursuit. But comparing it to to that, I think is a little bold. But also, I saw some posts on people saying like, but if you are a VC, don't you want your founders to be this level of like ambitious and maybe slightly delusional, but also
Yeah.
like have delusions of grandeur, right? Like they're thinking that what they're doing is some of the most important work. I think it's a little, and it's, again, these are sound bites, right? So you got to take
Yeah.
it, like, I'm sure these are the extremes, right? But I don't know. I can't imagine a world where you can build a company long term, maybe for short periods of time, where you're asking all your employees to be in the office 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is they're going to spend, now their social time is just going to be spent in the office. So I don't know how much more productive they actually are. I think it'll cause some animosity. Now, some people, like, I would argue this goes from like, are you trying to build culture or are you really trying to build a cult? Because the only way you're getting people in there 7 days a week is if you have built a literal cult where they buy
Yeah.
in and
They marry each other.
They marry each other. They're going to eat, sleep, and breathe this thing. They don't have kids. You can't have kids and work 7 days a week in the office. Like maybe there's a few employees that have it. I don't know how they pull it off, but maybe they have to take a bunch of vacation because they are 7 days a week. So they get a bunch of vacation time. I don't know how they pull it off. I don't know how it scales long-term, but it'd be interesting to watch from the sidelines.
Yeah. I had a tweet response, or I just did a tweet that the Corgi founders liked. I just said it's like the right answer is whatever it takes. So if that's 7 days for you, good for you.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think every company culture is different. The nice thing is, like, hopefully, if you're picking where you want to work, you could, if that sounds good to you and you're that, you want to invest your life into something, I would just argue, make sure you're, making sure you're getting paid, not just in stock. Like make sure it's worth, the juice is worth the squeeze, because the stock, you never know where that's going to go. Stock's a lottery ticket. Even in the best companies, you never know if like, what if the regulations on insurance change? Like maybe they do everything right and still like hits their valuation because the economy hits. So just be careful if you're jumping into this. But if that's your thing and you want to work hard and try to pursue something that you believe in, and that's it, you should do it.
Yeah.
If you want
Make sure you get paid in Daytona cold brews from the Corgi Cafe.
Yeah, you get a lot of I wonder if that's got to be a perk, right?
Yeah.
Free lattes. All right. Google Gemma introduced the new Coral board for efficient on-device AI. We've talked about local models and such earlier, but it can do onboard speech translation, natural language, controlling hardware, vision and sound, generating music. We've been talking to some other folks as well on just like, what does on-device AI look like? How do you get local models? How do you build agents that can run on these smaller chips, these smaller systems? So it's cool to see. It's like the Raspberry Pi for AI.
Exactly. And then it'll be on Android devices.
Yeah. Cloudflare is working on web search, giving AI agents and workers real-time access to the public web. So I'm assuming they're going to be competing with Exa, Firecrawl, all the usual suspects.
Google.
Here.
Yeah.
Google as well. And then this is from Farza at Farza TV. This got a lot of attention just because it's a really well done demo, but it's also pretty cool. So it says, watch me control my computer with just my voice. This is the future of operating systems, no hands. GBT Real-Time 2.0 is very, very underrated. So I'd encourage you to watch the demo, but essentially he's able to talk to his computer. I think it's called like Clicky. The product is called like Hey Clicky or something.
Yeah.
But he's able to talk to his computer, pull up Spotify, play music, tell it to do a bunch of stuff, and it's just in real time, pretty accurately just doing whatever he's saying, which is pretty wild.
And he's in the current YC batch. So.
Yeah. Hey, come on the show.
Yeah.
All right, we'll end with the GitHub Star Party, which we do once in a while. So this is from Dax. It's Rift is the repo, and essentially it is a better alternative to Git work trees. So the cool thing about this is, and it does say experimental, so take some caution, of course, but it's copy on write, which means you're not creating an entire clone of the Git repo, or the branch, right? If you're
Yep.
using a Git work tree, you might notice that you're chewing up a ton of hard drive space. This is gonna ideally be faster, and it only copies when you actually save the file. So if you have tens of thousands of files in a repo and you're only changing a couple, you don't have to duplicate all those files. So it's a cool idea.
Yeah, dude, my disk space is cooked. And that's because I have not been like hygienic about getting rid of work trees. And the more work trees you have, the exact same copy of your repo, which could be fat, especially if you npm-i, right? The minute you npm-i in a work tree, you're cooked.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about, you have dozens or hundreds of work trees where you've installed a ton of dependencies. Dang.
It's a dwarf star of storage being sucked
Yeah.
up.
So maybe this will help. Still early, but go give it a star if you're interested. And while you're there, go to Mastra-AI/Mastra. Give us a star. We just, to end this thing, we did we had a moment where we got some GitHub stars. We like a few more. We would like a few more, of course.
Yep.
But let me find the post, because I think this is a good thing to end on. But before we show that, go ahead and like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, give us that 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We do appreciate that. Only the 5-star reviews. Follow us on X at Mastra. Follow me at smthomas3. Follow Abhi at Abhi Aiyer. And this was the post from Sam, the other co-founder of Mastra. Posted this week because it just happened, and it's kind of cool. Long time coming, which is the name of the post. But yes, we finally surpassed for Cell AI, which, again, it's GitHub stars, but it's fun. Go give us a star. We like it.
We want to keep our lead.
Yeah, it feeds our ego, help us out here. We do appreciate that. So thank you for tuning in to Agents Hour. We appreciate you watching the show or listening after the fact. And we'll be here next week, like always. I don't know if we have any guests yet. We'll figure that out. There might be. I just don't have my calendar in front of me.
Code Rabbit office, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll be at the Code Rabbit office in SF in person. Those are always extra fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI Agents Hour, Shane and Abhi on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The Mastra.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we are all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour's done, but the news doesn't cease. Shane and Abhi, we out of here. Peace.